Welcome, everyone. This is CavsHQ Happy Hour presented by Budweiser as we get you ready for the weekend. John Michael alongside Rafa Hernandez-Brito, who is finally back in Florida. Unbelievable. You are reunited with your bride. For those who don't know the story, the first how many days of your marriage were spent apart due to the quarantine?
68 of the first 72 days were from.
I always feel bad when I laugh. It's not funny at all.
The good news, John.
Unbelievable.
The good news is that I was allowed in the house. I was still. You still remember me. So we are enjoying the sun. We're enjoying ourselves, enjoying my backyard, and enjoying the fact that there seems to be light at the end of the tunnel for all this for us.
Yeah, there is. A report that came out just a couple of days ago said that they're hoping and expecting that an announcement's going to be made in early June where players are going to be returning to their cities in which they play, hoping to ramp up and get the makings of starting a training camp. And, boy, that's good news, isn't it, Rafa? I mean, the league has been consistent with saying, not we have hope, but, we anticipate trying to make this work. We anticipate trying to come back, and it looks like, they've been planning that the entire time, but they've been wisely, in my opinion, taking a wait-and-see approach, seeing, the virus is going to dictate a lot of this stuff, the numbers and everything else, whether the curve's flattening or whether there's a resurgence now that states are reopening. And I think what the league has done has been great. It's been, obviously safety first, but now you're right. Finally, we're starting to see, maybe some emergence from this and getting back to getting back on the floor and hopefully finishing up this season.
Good in so many ways in terms of good news, John. First of all, because we're talking about we want to get back to action. We want to see live sports. Some of them are already coming. We have seen NASCAR. We have seen, and I was watching even a cornhole tournament the other day. But the better news, I think, is that the NBA, led by Commissioner Silver and the Board of Governors, have really taken an approach of this that, yes, we recognize there is an urgency and a need to better the economy, to better the well-being of our fans and our communities, but we have to do it right. You cannot jump on it. And this is basically what they're asking of every citizen of this country and this world. Just because the states are reopening, it doesn't mean that this is over. You still have to take the precautions necessary to make sure that we don't go back to where we were 3 months, 2.5 months ago. So I think that's the better part. That we are going, if we come back, and when we come back, I'm going to be very sure to feel safe and to know that everything, every I has been dotted and every T has been crossed to make sure that it is the right time and it's the right decision to make to come back and get back to action. So I think that's what I think is refreshing in the fact that the NBA has really taken not the business side of this, but more the health side and the safe side of the equation.
And we've been hearing for a while that it might be localized. It might be in only a couple of cities, and that continues to be the reports that we hear. One city might be Vegas, the other might be Orlando. Can you imagine how much fun that's going to be if you're a basketball fan? You can imagine maybe 3 courts or 3 locations in each city. And my hope is that they're playing a game at 11 a.m., then a game at 3 p.m., then a game at 7 p.m., then a game at 10, or whatever it is, however it works out. You get on League Pass, it's going to be heaven for a fan, especially folks that are still quarantined, especially still inside. You're dying for some live sports. If we didn't have to do those games, I'd be sitting around watching basketball all day if that's how it works out. It'd be like the NCAA tournament. Just games constantly the whole day.
Different format, but it will be a lot of Thursday and Friday of the first week of the NCAA March Madness tournament of games from noon all the way to midnight. It's great. Like it would be like the conference tournaments. The first day of the conference tournament where every team is in action. And that is the hope, that everybody gets to get back into action, get whatever can be done of the regular season. And the most important part, I think it is, to be able to crown a champion. That is something that is important for the players, for the owners, and also for the NBA to put an end to this season, that we can actually consider it a conclusion of the 2019-2020 season, and the fact that we get to watch and do what we love to do, just call basketball games. I think it's just amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be great. This show's going to be great, too. We have two terrific guests. In the second portion of the show, we're going to have Cavs assistant coach Antonio Lang. He'll be joining us to talk a little bit about the Cavs getting back into the facility, in the Cleveland Clinic courts again. Just a handful of days ago, the league allowed those to be opened. There are players back there working out, but it's different. It's not the same. They're not doing team workouts. We'll have Antonio explain all of that. And, how about Rafa, the 6-time All-Star, where your buddy, Sandy Alomar Jr., now the first base coach of the Indians, 20 seasons in Major League Baseball, 11 with the Indians. And, boy, I'm excited to have him aboard.
And I'm sure he'll find a way to mention Mariano Rivera to me in our conversation.
When you think about it, what a big part of, we know him now as Sandy the coach, a part of that awesome group that's been assembled with Terry Francona. But, you think back to 1990 AL Rookie of the Year with the Yankees, same season was a Gold Glover, only the third player in history as a catcher to win a Gold Glove in his first season, joining Johnny Bench and Carlton Fisk. I mean, this guy was a whale of a player, and it's so interesting to see him now as coach. But man, you think back to those great Indians teams and those great days, and he's been a mainstay here in Northeast Ohio for a long, long time.
So let's welcome now our friend Sandy Alomar, in my mind, the best catcher in the history of the Cleveland Indians, and we're mixing in sports today in the virtual hour for Budweiser and CavsHQ. Sandy, welcome to this show. And the first question that we're going to ask is, how are you doing and what have you been doing during this period of time?
Wow. Well, you say the best catcher unless they don't show that home run against Rivera. That's what you say. Or the home run All-Star game. Don't show that, right? But anyways, we're doing okay. We doing everything in the house. Go outside when we need to. Do my workouts here with the virtual riding, and also go outside once in a while. But mostly planning for the comeback of baseball. And like I said, we have a couple of Zoom meetings today, and we just want to make sure that we put the guy in the best scenario so when they come back, they're in the best shape they can.
Speaking of shape, have you been able to ride your bicycle? I know you always ride it most of the time in Cleveland when the weather allows, but now where you are right now, it looks beautiful. Virtual riding versus real riding on the roads. How does that go?
I really have done both. I've done both. The problem is now when you go outside, you have to make sure when it's real hot. That way there's not many people on the trails, because when the temperatures start getting very nice, like 70, everybody's on the trail, and I don't want to go when that happens. So number two, for safety reasons, people walk all over the place. You might hit somebody other than people breathing over each other. But we go outside. I go outside once in a while, but the one cool thing about virtual is that you can replicate hills without going outside. So I enjoy both. I'd rather go outside because it's less boring, but whatever is available at that time.
Sandy, just the other day, NBA facilities began opening again, and players started filtering back to those practice facilities. We know what our Cavs guys have been doing to try to stay in shape. Some of them have courts in their own house, and they're able to work out as well as weight room facilities. How about the Indians, in terms of the guys you've been keeping in touch with? What have they been up to trying to stay ready during this quarantine time?
Well, that's a very good question, because baseball is the most difficult sport to mimic baseball activity. So if you don't have a partner, if you don't have the resources, then you have to figure out ways to do it. For example, we need a big field to do things, to throw long toss. The catchers have it the best, because the catcher, all they need is a little spot, and they can do routines that we do with the catchers, and they can maintain themselves. You just don't want to go back to zero. So when we start a game, you start losing time or get injured. But our players have done a great job looking for resources for open field when nobody's around, get a playing catch partner. find a mound so they can throw. Some of the indoor places are doing privates for some of the players. So we are able to do things that are very difficult to do under the circumstances. But the guys are so professional about it, and they want to make sure they come in top shape when they come back.
What can you share with us, Sandy, about the plans for baseball? What have you been told? What is this going to look like? Or, you know, a month of spring training? I know sometimes somebody mentioned 82 game regular season, but what can you share with us, or what can baseball fans expect to see this year?
Well, that's pending on the day that, you know, pending on the agreement and the day that we start. So far right now, we are counting on being June 10th spring training and starting the season early July. So pending on the result of the negotiations, there's a lot of negotiation on the health factor and the safety factor. So they haven't even entered the economic yet. So I don't know how long it's going to take, but that's so far that's what I know. But the main thing is like we have to make sure that if they say go, those guys are ready to roll. So you don't want to get caught off guard, and all of a sudden they make a deal, and then you were waiting for them to get better, closer, and then you waited to work out and do things. So you want to make sure that the players are staying active. That way, when they say go, you're in the best case scenario.
How about location, Sandy? I mean, are you expecting this to be in only a few cities? We've heard that mentioned both in baseball and in basketball. For fans here in Northeast Ohio who are dying to see the Indians, us included, Rafa and I included, can we anticipate them potentially playing here in Northeast Ohio, or do you think this is going to be more of a centralized, maybe Arizona, maybe some Florida, only a couple of cities around the country?
No, I think we move into the direction of playing in our own ballpark. I think that's so far that's what's being said and been happening. They're planning towards that, playing your own ballpark. The one thing, the specifics and the logistic of the sectional, you know, the traveling and the logistic of the divisions. We might be playing different teams this year than we were supposed to play during their normal schedule. So you might have shorter travel for safety reasons, but you might play National League teams more often, and you might not see the pitcher hitting. So all this logistics is still negotiated, being in negotiations right now as we speak, because you just want to make it as safe as possible, and you just don't want to travel long.
When we started with this quarantine, for us was March 10th when the NBA season, March 11th, March 10th when the NBA season came to a stop. We started getting creative about, what are you looking forward to do most when this is over? We kind of ran out of those questions. So we want to ask you, your brother, Hall of Famer Roberto Alomar, great second baseman, you played with him for a year and some change with the Indians, but Sandy Alomar and Roberto Alomar, 18, 19 years old, would they have been okay for 70 days together in a home?
Oh, you're talking about if we were like young kids.
Yeah.
That's a great question. Rafa, that's a great question. I don't think my mom and dad could have contained us in our house. Although we respect everything our parents said, we obeyed everything they say. I don't think they could have contained us. We would have had a couple of broomsticks and Coke bottles, and start throwing BP to each other with the little sharp Coke bottles and figure out ways to go to the backyard and hit with broomsticks and play catch. We'll figure something out. We wouldn't make anything out of nothing. That's the way we were when we were coming out growing up.
Sandy, a friend of this show is Roberto Perez, and Rafa and I have really enjoyed his progression throughout his career, and I know you've worked with Roberto behind the plate. Once thought of as primarily defensive specialist, boy, that offensive game, his hitting has really come around. What has it been about Roberto that's allowed him to really make that transformation to become the catcher that he is today and that we can anticipate coming into this season?
Hunger, desire. He always believes and trusts himself. The main thing is that with Roberto Pereira really made him turn his corner. It's when 2016 when Yan Gomes got hurt, and we thought we were in a load of trouble. Bert came in and helped the team go to the World Series. The bat really kind of kept him longer in the minor league. His defense always been pretty good, and he always had a good catching instruction in the minor leagues with Chris Tremmy and a few other guys in Laker. But as he matured, he always say, I know if I get the opportunity, I'm going to hit. I know if I get the opportunity, I'm going to hit. But it's very difficult to perform when you only play once or twice a week. And especially when you were in development and then you come back to the big league, all of a sudden you go from playing 5 days a week to playing once or twice a week. And, we had Yan Gomes. He was an all-star catcher, so he had to wait for his turn. But then when Yan got hurt, opportunities open for many players. There's your opportunity right there, and he came and delivered, man. He did a fantastic job. He didn't hit like he hit last year, but you could see his defense was eye-opening. And he's always been a motivated kid, a kid that wanted to show people the number one thing that he cares about is handling pitching staff. That's very important, and that's one thing. That's why he won the Gold Glove, because he cared to be that caddy for the pitching staff, and he has done a tremendous job with that.
He might not hit a lot, but when he does, his hits are always so key, so huge. Late inning homers and everything. But the most important thing, Sandy, I just spoke to Bebo. He told me he's driving back to Cleveland and to tell Sandy to be aware because I'm bringing my road bike and he's ready to take on you on the road to Cleveland.
I'll tell you what, can't be riding with him because he falls down. It's my fault. Him and Lindor are going at it, man. They really are conditioning themselves. They're riding a lot. They really got the fever, man, the cycling fever. So. You have to figure out where you can ride in a safe area and put in some miles. But right now, my concern is for him to get ready to catch, not big climbing hills and me cycling with him. So my concern, if I fall down, I can be replaced. If he's in a different scenario. But no, those guys are doing a good job, and I'm sure that they're training to try to kick my butt.
Well, we thank you so much for sharing some time in a busy day for you. I know you got tons of meetings going on with the team, and we appreciate you coming to join us. And always, you have a seat open here, even though you are, aside from my father, the only other adult that have made me cry in this world. So, but you're still a friend of mine, and you're still welcome in my home.
Thank you very much, Rafa. And let me tell you something that Chris Munoz was asking about you yesterday. We were talking about you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say he was talking about you. We were having fun, but I told him how to interview with you guys today. But guys, thank you for inviting me. I mean, this is great. I wish we could be out there on the field right now. Unfortunately, this is the circumstances, and we have to accept what is sent our way, and not complain too much, and just do the best we can.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
It's been great. Always welcome.
All right, guys.
Have a great season.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Man, it's great to catch up with Sandy. He's terrific, isn't he, Rafa?
He's a terrific guy, but he always finds a way to remind me that he's only one of two hitters that was able to take Mariano Rivera deep. Mariano faced 527 hitters in his postseason career, and only two people were able to take him deep. From the Mets, Jay Payton in 2000, and of course, our great friend, Sandy Alomar, who finds always a way to remind me. If you notice, he was a little busy during the conversation. He was texting me the link for his Game 4 ALCS homer of Mariano Rivera. But I still love him, and he's a great guy.
Unbelievable stat, too, with Rivera. So we're talking about it was a heartbreaker for you as a Yankees fan. And our next guest, he was part of a heartbreaker for me as well. Certainly we're going to invite in Antonio Lang. Under the basket when Christian Leitner hit that shot in 92 to sink Kentucky.
He says he was ready for the rebound. I don't know if there was any time left, but back in 1992, the Three Stooges were kind of like out of style already, and he brought the curly shuffle, in his own words, back to being cool, I guess.
He called it the curly shuffle. It looked to me more like that breakdancing move where you're on the ground, you kind of kick your foot around and just not that I've ever done that or been able to do that, but I've seen that, and that it looked like it appeared that that's what he was starting to do.
I don't think that's a move that Coach K would approve of, but we can ask Antonio about that.
Our producer, Leo Simone, he just said, can you imagine after Kyrie hit that shot in 2016, the other four Cavs would have done on the foot kick? There were 53 seconds left, by the way, in that game, so maybe it wouldn't work. But hey, with that, let's bring in our friend Antonio Lang, Cavs assistant coach. And here he is, back by popular demand, joining us on the show once again here on CavsHQ. It's Cavs assistant coach Antonio Lang. Last time we talked here on the show, Coach, we were talking about the curly shuffle. Now we're talking about something entirely different, going through this quarantine like the rest of us.
Yeah, we can talk about my teeny weeny afro that I got some pictures back in the day when I had an afro and a jerry curl and all that. So we're not gonna break those out though.
Hey, don't put it past us on this show. You might have just set yourself up. We now have to see. Let's get our staff on that, Rafa.
Oh no, don't do that.
On it.
Hey, how are you? How's the family? How you been holding up as we continue to roll through this?
John, it's been tough. I mean, great thing about family's healthy. My family's here, both my sons here, wife's here, and it's been different, but it's given us an opportunity to be together, and we're blessed. I mean, we don't have anyone that's sick. We're getting through this here pretty well, and hopefully everybody can get back to some type of normalcy. I think it's going to be as normal as you possibly can get. But overall, we've been doing well.
Good.
It's been a long time, Antonio, since we've been at home. It feels like it's been since 1876 when our sponsor Budweiser came on board with us. But we started doing this virtual happy hour, asking questions about what were you looking most forward to do when you came out of this quarantine. Obviously, we all want to get back to normal. You just mentioned it, but we're changing it a little bit here. And I wanted to ask you, who would have it better? Your kids quarantine with you at a teenage age for 70 days, or you quarantine with your father for 70 days? How would that have worked for Antonio Lang? Will we see Antonio Lang now if he had been 70 days locked up with his father?
Well, I don't know if I'm a cool father or not. I don't know. My kids basically tell me all the time that I'm old. Like, Dad, you're getting old. Like, my younger one always tries to wrestle me and stuff. That's like been the hardest thing in this quarantine, is trying to stop him from wrestling me all the time. But I always win because, I'm from Alabama, from the South. We don't say wrestling, we grow up wrestling. But the thing about it, my dad's super cool. So I don't know. It'd probably be cooler for me to hang out with my old man than it is for my kids to hang out with this old man. So.
It's along the same lines, though, Antonio, during your playing days, things are so different now. I mean, guys have their own courts at home. Some of them, a lot of them have their own workout facilities in their own place. You have the ability to Zoom and reach out and, contact your players. Have you thought at all about what it would have been like if you were in college or right when you went into the pro ranks, if the quarantine would have taken place back then?
My thing is, how do you get all the news out? I mean, with the social media and all that, even though it is different age, it also can protect us because they get all that stuff out to us. And my thing is just like, how would everybody know? I was in college, we still had pages. Like, I remember typing 4 and 1. That's like, hi, like, oh, okay, hello,
You're not old. You're not old at all.
43770 is hello. Come on now. I tell my kids that they think I'm old, but I just don't know. It's so, even when it happened, I was like, as we talked about a little bit on the plane, actually JB talked about, so we may not have fans. I was like, wow, like it just seemed so drastic. And then bam, when it happened, and now it's normal. It's just like, this is something that we needed to do in order to get past this pandemic. I don't know how I would have done that back. Like, I'm sitting there and joking, but after you go off to college for a while, you go back and you stay in the house with your parents for 70 days. I think everybody out there can make it.
What do you think will be the hardest part with this transition? I think we all have gotten used to the social distancing and the fact that we can actually get together virtually. But once you start going back, you mentioned you've been back at Cleveland Clinic courts, talking with the guys, playing, trying to get some kind of normalcy back too. our life, a basketball life. But what do you think would be the hardest part? The no fans, the fact that the normal is no longer what we used to, and we have to be really ready and able to go along with what needs to be done, or the rules that are gonna be stipulated.
Yeah, I think the toughest thing, first of all, I mean, the testing, first of all, everybody has to get tested to come in and get out, which will be taken care of, I know. But playing without fans we all play for that field with the fans. That will be a little weird. And also it's going to be tough for the coaches and assistant coaches because you can hear everything that we say to the referee during the game. But I think the oddest part would be to play without having fans there. Now, I don't know how it's going to change right now. We go in the gym, you're wearing the mask, you're wearing the latex gloves. And I had no idea that your hands sweat inside those gloves, but I learned that real quickly. And that makes it a little uncomfortable, but it's something that needs to be done so we won't spread this. And we'll figure it out. At some point in time, I think it'll get back to normalcy. But having basketball without fans is better than not having basketball at all.
Yeah.
It's been a little over a week now since teams have allowed coaches and players to come back into the facility. You touched on it a little bit, Antonio, but for our fans who don't, who don't know exactly what it's like inside that facility right now, you mentioned the mask, you mentioned the gloves. A lot is different. Can you describe what that's like inside there and how unusual it is now with all those rules and all the things that you have to do to try to get these guys ramped up again?
Well, usually if you have allotted time on the court, training room, weight room, basketball court. And we usually show up, you can only have 4 coaches in there. You have 4 rims. You're going to have 4 players in there. They have to have their own basketball. So when you're rebounding, you're working out with them, you should show social distance, 6 feet, if possible, 12 feet. So we can't really guard them. So we're basically rebounding for the guys. And as soon as that's over, you leave before the next group comes in. So you never have more than 4 players in there. So that is kind of, because we get so used to sitting and talking and catching up, because that's like the thing that we miss the most. We're like with Rafa, I miss talking, and so as soon as it's over, you have to get out and you get your food on your way out. You take it out. I hadn't been in my office since we've gone back. They're doing a real good job. And as soon as we finish in the training room, they clean it. As soon as they finish in the weight room, they clean it. As soon as they finish on the court, they clean it. And then they start the whole process over again. The best thing in the world, though, was like the time I got to spend with Larry Nance, and just for us to talk. And those are the things that we've missed more than anything else. So it's a start, and it looks good. It looks like we're going to keep ramping it up. So hopefully we can continue to do that.
But Antonio, as uncomfortable or trying that might be, I think it's also reassuring that not only the Cavs, but the NBA are taking every step necessary to make sure that everybody's doing it in a safe way until we figure out what the next safe is going to be.
Yeah, Adam Silver went to Duke grad, so I'm going to say that I love him because he went to Duke grad. Yeah. You didn't think we were going to get a Duke reference. You got the curly shuffle last time.
Yeah.
So, of course, he's going to do a good job. No, but I really think the NBA has been on board with the governors, and the governor of Ohio has done an unbelievable job, and all the governors everywhere. The thing about this, it's about people. It's not about politics, and I think everybody just got together, and the NBA really, they said they weren't going to do anything that the states didn't say that they were going to be able to do. If the states say they can't do it, then they weren't going to do it. And I thought that was really good, and it shows you that we have smart people running this, and we have people that care. It's about, you put a product out there, but if it's not safe, then there's no reason to do it. And I think that says a lot about the organization that we work for.
Part of what we've heard about getting back onto the floor is that there's only going to be a few cities, potentially Orlando, potentially Las Vegas. That has potential to be, a basketball heaven for fans, right? It's a free-for-all. They're playing games at noon, 4 and 8, every other day on 3 or 4 courts in each city. You turn on League Pass, it's going to be wall-to-wall basketball for NBA fans. As you go into this, was that your thought, or what do you anticipate if this actually takes place?
Well, what's crazy is Orlando and Vegas, they're already used to it because they run all the AAU games there, So it's AAU on steroids. I mean, you know, I'm looking at it and all that. You remember when we were kids, and like you would go play and you play all day. You play 5 or 6 games, and right now you can't. When I played the NBA, I couldn't play 20 minutes. When I was a kid, I could play 5 or 6 games all day. So I think it's going to be exciting. I mean, I'm excited even to have everyone in one area like that. It's kind of like the summer league, but it's not. I mean, it's the real deal. So I think it's something. I mean, people need something to look forward to. I mean, like I said, I've been watching Muhammad Ali fights. I've been painting. I've been doing everything. We need to watch sports. So I'm going to go crazy around here. So it'll be good to have that, I guess, that overdose of sports. And I think that this is going to be an exciting time. Hopefully it'll work out.
You mentioned you've been watching, and I know everybody's been going through this. We're all in this together because we all go into 24 hours at home, and there's not enough movies, Zoom, or whatever you want to watch and spend your time doing. You mentioned your alma mater. Twice you won the championship with Coach K and the Duke Blue Devils. I got a chance to watch the show called the recruiting class that saved Coach K. I don't know if you've been able to watch that. But do you spend any time with Mark Allery, with Johnny Dawkins and Henderson? And can you tell us a little bit about your experience? I know being part of any college is a fraternity, and they all help the incoming guys and everything. But can you talk to us a little bit about any experience you might have with Mark Allery or with Johnny Dawkins?
Oh, yeah, I have. I mean, the cool thing, I had a birthday last week, and Coach K wrote me sent me a birthday card, which he always does. And the card's over there. I don't want to get off the camera to get it, but he sent me a birthday card, and he sent me all my Final Four pins. It's kind of
that's cool.
So that kind of tells you that to play for that guy, I mean, it was a blessing. I actually texted him and told him thank you for everything he's ever, done for me. Final Four pins. I mean, all of them, all 3. I was forced to play them. But Johnny Dawkins, I mean, was the guy that when we went there, he stayed in Durham, and he was the one that put us through workouts. Mm-hmm. So Johnny's always been that guy. Always been the guy to reach out to the alum like, hey, we need to connect, this and that. And he's always been that guy. Mark Allery, I got a chance when he came back to meet him and to talk with him. And one time I went to one of Coach K's academies that he put together, and we got to spend some time together. Those guys were always around. Now, when it comes to Dave Henderson, who we call Hindu, that's my guy. When I came out here, was interviewing with this job, Andre Patterson was one of the guys I trusted, this and that. But Hindu was the guy that I called. And whenever I had an issue, I mean, it's always been that way. Even when he was at Delaware, even when he started with the Cavs, and I said, Hen, what do you think? And he just said, Tony, these are the positives and the negatives, this and that. And I think it'll be a good look, but you need to make a decision. And after I made a decision, I called him. And so we've always had that. I think even generation to generation, Johnny Dawkins, Henderson, and that America group, they started all that. The reason why I wanted to go to Duke is when Johnny Dawkins dunked backwards against Navy, he had the blue and the silver Adidas on. That's why I wanted to
That's all it took, huh? That's all it took.
Hey, I'm wearing those blue and silver shoes. Our high school coach would let us wear that. I'm wearing those gray and blue and those silver shoes when I go to Duke. That's the first thing I'm going to do. So
I always find it amazing how short the shorts were in those days with Mark Allery. And my question is, was he a nice version of Christian Laettner? Because they kind of remain. I look at Mark Allery and I think of Christian Laettner. Obviously, he came later and basically was favored by the fact that this construction of the Duke Blue Devil program with this class that came in that came so close to winning the whole thing on their senior year. But still, I like to see what you just mentioned, Coach K being kind of like a father figure and really enjoying the company of these guys when they were talking about all the ups and downs, a lot more downs than ups that class went through those 4 years.
Yeah, it's interesting because Coach, I mean, Mr. Butters was I think was the AD at the time, I think, and he believed in Coach K. I mean, when he first got there, it was kind of, he had Gene Banks, Jaminski, all those guys. It was rough for him when he first got there. Young coach, this and that, and they believed in him. And look, I mean, you see what happened. But I actually saw that, and it's amazing because my generation got influenced by that generation.
Yeah.
I mean, it got influenced by that. Tommy Amaker, when Tommy Amaker called me to recruit me, and then when I was like, Mom, I'm going to Duke. I said, that's the TNA from the TNA from Duke.
Yeah.
Tommy Erica? I said, that's where I'm going.
Antonio, it's always great to have you on. Before we let you go, if you have a message for our Cavs fans out there, maybe even what you hope to anticipate if we get back on the floor for these last handful of games, however many that may be, with this team that was starting to find some momentum after the All-Star break, beating some good teams. What would you say before we close up shop here?
Well, first and foremost, best fans in the NBA, best fans in the world. They've always been that way. They have supported us, and we are trying to support them now, and we'll continue to try to support them. And I know that you will be back in the stadium soon, but if not, please watch as much as you can, get some enjoyment. I think right now I'm playing for the best coach in the NBA, JB. He's unbelievable. You look at what our guys are doing, and we play hard, and we do it all for you guys. Stay safe. God bless, and we'll be back, getting right back at it pretty soon.
Thanks, Antonio, so much. Always great catching up with you.
Hey.
For Antonio, for Rafa, this is John saying so long. This has been CavsHQ Happy Hour presented by Budweiser. Have a great week.
Duke.
Hey, see you guys soon, man. Let's get back.